Let's start with the classic. Your teacher points at a medieval cathedral window, thicker at the bottom than the top, and delivers the line, glass is actually a very slow liquid, still flowing after centuries. It's a beautiful idea. It's also completely false. Verdict first, then evidence, busted. Glass is an amorphous solid. Its atoms are disordered like a liquid's, but they're locked in place. Physicists have actually calculated the flow rate of cathedral glass at room temperature, and the time scale for visible sagging comes out longer than the age of the universe by a wide margin, not centuries, longer than all of time so far. So why are old windows thicker at the bottom? Manufacturing. Medieval glassmakers spun molten glass into discs, which came out uneven, thicker toward the edge. And if you're installing a wobbly pane of glass, which way do you put the heavy edge? Down, obviously, so it sits stable in the frame. The proof is delightful. Surviving panes have been found installed thick side up and thick side sideways, wherever the fitter felt like that morning. The mystery was never physics, it was medieval workers being practical. Myth 2, astronauts float because there's no gravity in space. Verdict, busted, and this one hides the most beautiful idea in the whole video. Run the numbers. The International Space Station orbits about 400 kilometers up. Earth's gravity at that altitude is roughly 90% of what you feel right now. 90%. If you stood on a tower that tall, you'd weigh only slightly less than you do in your kitchen. So why does an astronaut float? Because the station and everyone inside it is falling constantly. The ISS is plummeting toward Earth at this exact moment, but it's also moving sideways at about 28,000 kilometers per hour, so fast that as it falls, the curved Earth keeps dropping away beneath it. It falls around the planet, forever missing the ground. That's all an orbit is, falling with really good aim. Einstein considered the realization that a falling person feels no weight the happiest thought of his life. It led him straight to general relativity. So astronauts aren't beyond gravity's reach. They're the most committed skydivers in history. 16 sunrises a day, never landing. Myth 3. Lightning never strikes the same place twice. Verdict, busted so hard it's almost the opposite of true. The Empire State Building gets hit about 25 times per year. During one storm in 2011, it was struck 3 times in 15 minutes in this video. Lightning has no memory and no sense of fairness. It follows one rule: the path of least electrical resistance to the ground. If a location offered that path once, tall, isolated, conductive, it almost certainly still offers it in the next storm. That's the entire reason lightning rods work. A lightning rod is literally a place we build so lightning will strike it, on purpose, repeatedly, for centuries. The myth gets people hurt, by the way. Some genuinely believe a spot that's been struck is now safe, which is exactly backwards. And the human version is even more dramatic. Park Ranger Roy Sullivan was struck 7 separate times between 1942 and 1977 and survived all of them. A Guinness World Record nobody is trying to break. Same job, same exposed terrain, same tall, lonely landscape. The lightning wasn't hunting him, he just kept standing in the path of least resistance. Myth 4, the one your grandmother enforces every winter. You lose most of your body heat through your head. Some versions say 40, 50, even 80%. Verdict, busted, with a great origin story. The claim traces back to a US military cold weather study from the 1950s, where volunteers were put in Arctic survival suits and exposed to brutal cold. They lost most heat through their heads because the head was the only part not covered by the suit. By that logic, if you wore only trousers, science will prove you lose most heat through your chest. Modern measurements are boring and clear. The head is about 7 to 10% of your body's surface area, and in an evenly dressed person, it accounts for roughly that share of heat loss, 7 to 10%. Nothing special. The head can feel disproportionately cold because facial skin is dense with thermoreceptors. It complains loudly, but sensation isn't thermodynamics. Now the fun twist, Grandma's advice is still correct. On a cold day, your head is usually the largest exposed surface you can fix in 2 seconds. Wrong physics, right hat. Myth 5 is the boldest, because because it's printed in actual textbooks. Planes fly because air over the curved top of the wing must travel farther, so it moves faster. And by Bernoulli's principle, faster air means lower pressure. Lift. Sounds airtight. Verdict, busted. And the killer question is one your teacher couldn't answer: how do planes fly upside down? Stunt pilots do it for minutes at a time. If the curved top explanation were the whole story, an inverted wing would generate lift straight into the ground. The hidden false assumption is called equal transit time. The idea that air split by the wing must reunite at the trailing edge. It doesn't. Wind tunnel footage with smoke pulses shows the top surface air arriving far earlier than the bottom air. They never rejoin. Real lift is messier and more muscular. The wing meets air at an angle and physically deflects enormous amounts of it downward. Newton's third law does the heavy lifting: push air down, get pushed up. Working together with genuine pressure differences, the wing's angle creates. A large airliner in cruise is hurling tons of air downward every second, less elegant than a textbook diagram, considerably better at keeping you alive at 35,000 feet. Since we're on a roll, here are 3 quickfire bonus myths, rapid verdicts, no mercy. Bonus 1, the tongue mat, sweet at the tip, bitter at the back, printed in biology books for a century. Busted. It came from a mistranslation of a 1901 German study. Every taste type is detected across the whole tongue, which you can verify right now with a grain of salt on the tip. Bonus 2, a penny drop from the Empire State Building can kill a pedestrian. Busted. A penny is flat, light, about 1 gram, and tumbles chaotically. Its terminal velocity tops out near 40 kilometers per hour. It would sting like a flicked ear, nothing more. A 14 ballpoint pen, on the other hand, is genuinely dangerous, aerodynamic, dense, point first. So the myth picked the wrong projectile entirely. Bonus 3, seasons happen because Earth moves closer to the sun in summer. Busted. And here's the one-line kill: when it's summer in New York, it's simultaneously winter in Sydney, on the same planet, at the same distance. Seasons come from Earth's 2320V degree, till changing how directly sunlight hits each hemisphere. In fact, Earth's whole orbit is so nearly circular that we're actually slightly closest to the sun in early January, the depth of northern winter. 3 more stories your brain preferred to the evidence. The pattern from earlier holds, tidy explanation, untested, repeated for decades. 5 myths, 5 verdicts, and 1 pattern worth keeping. Notice what every single myth had in common. Each one is a better story than the truth. Flowing glass is poetic. Zero gravity is clean. Lightning with a memory is dramatic. The truth. Uneven medieval manufacturing, perpetual falling, warring electrical resistance is always messier and always more work to explain. That's the actual lesson, bigger than any one fact. Our brains are wired to trade accuracy for narrative, and the satisfying explanation feels true in a way evidence never quite matches. Scientists fall for it too. Equal transit times sat in textbooks for decades because the diagram looks so tidy. So here's the tool to take away. When an explanation feels perfectly satisfying, that's exactly the moment to ask, wait, how would I actually check this? The best question in science isn't what's the answer, it's how do we know? Keep that question loaded and half the internet becomes more interesting and less convincing at the same time. There's a new dose of this every single day on this channel, and tomorrow's myth is one you've repeated this week. See you there.